can people be healed miraculously from diseases and from illnesses? The answer is yes, and the answer would be because, our understanding is that God is not only the creator of the heavens and the earth and everything therein. God controls everything. God contains in His knowledge everything. And God is omnipotent, which means He's got all power, all ability. Nothing can contain the power nor the ability of God. And so if God wills someone to be healed miraculously, that person can be healed. Now, having said that, sometimes God uses means of fixing an illness, of healing somebody. So in other words, it's not inconsistent for us to go to a doctor and they say, doctor, we're sick, what should we do? And the doctor says, here, take these vitamins, sleep 10 hours a day, and drink lots of liquids. That's perfectly consistent with the Islamic understanding because it's not the vitamins that are helping. The vitamins are merely a means that God has allowed to help. It's God that helps. So if God wants to cure somebody miraculously, they can. Now, I would take great caution in those who claim to have the power of miracle healing, and who, that would be something that I would caution myself and your listeners and your viewers from doing, because it's only by the permission of God that people can be healed, and perhaps God gives certain powers and certain abilities to special people, but they're not dime a dozen, and people need to be very, very, very careful.
Okay, well, appreciate.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I would agree with some of what he said. And in the case that, for example, that God does work through doctors or through vitamins or herbs or whatever it is, and it's still, God who really should get the credit at the end of the day.
Exactly, Bob. When people come in here, I'm sitting there listening to what they're telling me, and I'm saying, Lord, help me with the things that this person may need. I ask you to touch these people, heal these people. We want to give you all the honor and glory for it. I tell everybody, I just work here. I just know how to ask all the questions.
I like that. Okay.
From there, if we get that right, we do good.
Got about 10 minutes left here, Robert, so we're going to try to squeeze in some more calls here before we run out of time. Bonnie, you're next.
Hi, I was wondering if there's a way to be desensitized to lactose intolerant, and also what is the cause of it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Doctors don't seem to know very much about it.
Yeah, sure.
First of all, if you're talking lactose, so you're talking dairy, right?
Yes.
Okay, so our thoughts and thinking is that we shouldn't really be, again, dairy is good for calves. If we're going to use anything, we should probably go closer to goat milk.
Goat milk is more easily absorbed by our human body?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And the processing that is probably that the milk or the dairy goes through is also a big factor. So again, we have a little container here. If it's lactose intolerance, we can desensitize you to it. It's not so that even though we can be desensitized, you just have to be careful so that you don't overdo it.
Okay, so in other words, you're saying dairy products in general, certainly in large amounts, wouldn't be healthy for the human body.
That's basically all the teaching that we're getting.
Okay. Does that help you at all, Bonnie?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Angela from Saskatchewan, hi. Hi, Angela. One more try for Angela, and then we'll go to Jerry. No? Angela's there? All right,
Hello?
Angela.
Hello?
Fire away.
Okay. I have a couple of questions concerning food allergies. My husband is anaphylactically allergic to poultry and fish.
Yeah, okay.
And my son is anaphylactically allergic to milk, eggs, and nuts. Our diet is extremely limited.
I bet.
That's right.
Now my son, he's been allergic right from birth, as far as I know. He's never been able to. My husband over the years, he's gotten worse and worse with his allergies. So what can I do to try and desensitize him to those sorts of things to get a more varied diet?
Again, that desensitization process, I think we have to remember that because they may be sensitive to whatever they may be sensitive today, does not necessarily mean that you can start there. I have got people that'll come in here just like you just saying that I'm sensitive to everything, and yet when I go to and ask the system, is it ready to be desensitized, the body says, no, it's not ready to be desensitized. So the processing of being balanced in the chemistry before you can even do it.
So is it like people born with the allergies, or do they...
Sorry?
How does it work? Like, how do people become allergic? Are they born? Like, my son has never had a nut in his entire life, and yet he's anaphylactically allergic to them.
Yeah, you know, again, this is so hard to say why. I've got a dentist here that has sent me his patient so I could test her for 4 substances that he wants to use for the freezing. On her first appointment, she could only use 1, but she was not ready to have the work done by the dentist. I put her on the program. The second time she came in, I was able to find 2 of the products out of the 4 that she could now use. On January 27th at 7 o'clock in the morning, I will be sitting in this dentist's office testing her for what products she can use for the freezings for that day, that moment.
Are you saying, Robert, that basically, again, the pH balance, the body chemistry balance is the root cause then of the sensitivity to nuts or whatever? Everything, Paul.
Okay. Something is happening within the system that allows that system not to be able to tolerate it. All we have to do is find out when is the body ready to have it done.
Okay.
I wish I could tell you more about how to
it's
do
tough
that,
over the phone, of course.
To do that, you know.
Yeah, and again, so much of this is diet related too. You know, it throws off our chemistry, doesn't it?
You bet.
Thanks for that, Angela. You know, just before we head to Jerry's call, real quick, you know, how about stress? Does stress actually throw off our body chemistry?
Paul, stress is in every discomfort that a person has. The adrenal glands will be stressed out. When I spoke to you earlier about the blood pressure, what we look for is the blood pressure laying down. When they stand up, the systolic blood pressure should go up by 10 points. If it doesn't go up by 10 points, we know that the adrenal glands are exhausted. So
in other words, so stress is... I mean, if you have high blood pressure, is a good chance you're under too much stress just in life in general, or?
It could be, yes. And I can have people in here who have nothing but high blood pressure, Paul, and when I want to go to see if I can fix it, their body's not ready to fix it. Their body is saying something else is causing the high blood pressure.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for that. Let's go to Jerry's call from Saskatchewan. Hi, Jerry.
Hello. Good afternoon, gentlemen, and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got a couple comments as well as a question that's really pressing on my mind.
Sure.
The first thing is dealing with people with addictions and stuff like that concerning alcohol or other intoxications. In my studies of 20 years of living around the alcohol syndromes and stuff like that, if you take something away, you must put something positive back. Now, when somebody says that they want to wean off of the alcohol and stuff like that, well, the only positive that I have ever seen in my 20 years of looking at that addressing is water, fruit juices, or something that's positive, filling up that gap that's going to be lost. Another thing that is how much water is for the lady that was suffering from a lot of electrolytes in her system from a neurology point of view. If she's taking an overdose of water, sometimes water is the highest conductor that we know in our human body. Neutralizing water by having warm water sometimes really neutralizes your energy source.
Okay, Robert, any thoughts on that?
We actually, with water, we never take anything too hot or anything too cold. Water is a fantastic healer itself. The cleansing and the detoxifying, the purer the water, the better the water. But we always do suggest that you should have minerals or trace minerals added to them, because if you're drinking RO water or distilled water, it's not that it depletes the system out of those, but it would be good to be able to take the supplements, a good mineral supplement to back into the system. The cleaner the water, the better it's going to pick up all of the needed nutrients, the better it will transport it through the rest of the system. When you talked about the pH, or the positive and negative side of everything, the positive foods, which are your proteins, acid fruits, citrus fruits, and tomatoes, and your negative foods are carbohydrates, fat, starches, and sugar. So again, it's all balanced going back to pH. Your pH will determine how well you process that.
Hope that helps, Jerry.
The biggest question that I've got for you, sir, is my significant other has got a brain tumor that was extracted in 2002, and then 3 weeks later she ended back up there with a shunt replacement, and it took her about 7 months in the hospital and 6 months before she could walk or talk normally. The brain tumor is coming back, and now it's in the center part of her hemisphere, and it's taking she's I don't like to say this word because it's a fear of myself, and it's a fear for her, but she's kind of like, she dreams a lot of like going into a schizophrenia kind of lifestyle. Is there any contribution?
Okay, Jerry, I'm just going to put you on hold here, Jerry, because there's about a minute left here. So can you answer that briefly, Robert?
Very quickly, again, the tumors that are caused within the system, what we try to do is work with different things that prevents the feeding of that tumor, okay? So there are products that we can use, again, for that. But again, going back to the neurology of it all, just like Dr. Amy says, you cannot have immunology without neurology, so that the nervous system, with what we do, everything it's all goes together. So we can actually rebalance the 12 pairs of the cranial nerves today, or actually re-establish communication between the 12 pairs of cranial nerves, the lobes of the brain. These are all areas that we can work with, but again, we can go back to this balance of working on the system itself instead of saying, well, I think you need this, or I think you could need that, or try this. No, you got to balance the system itself before you're going to fix anything, whatever the condition is.
All right.
By the way, very quickly, Paul, I was going to mention that my wife also has the same diplomas that I do. She doesn't practice in the office, but she can help a lot of people with different questions. She's
okay.
The big part of all this too.
So when they call in, they can get some good advice from Margot as well.
Exactly.
Okay. Excellent. I want to thank you very much for being with us here today. Robert Kish, naturopath and phytotherapist. Thank you.
Yes. And Paul, one thing very quickly, I've got about 20 different insurance companies that do pay for some of the services.
Okay, so there are private insurance companies, again, that do cover this as well.
Exactly.
So, all right,
thank
appreciate
you so much.
that.
God bless you all.
Yes.
Thank you so much for it.
Okay, thank you. I want to encourage all of you watching that there is hope out there, okay, through prayer, of course, and through natural remedies, and being careful what we put into our bodies. Here's what you had to say on your insight.
If pastors were actually doing their job, they would have equipped saints who would be doing the work of the ministry. Instead, they have put themselves in the place of nursemaid who spent a great deal of time going here and there. True pastors are to be equipping the saints for the work of the ministry, to build up the body of Christ, until we all come to the unity of the faith and the knowledge of the Son of God, unto the full measure of the stature of Jesus. The only logical conclusion one can arrive at is that those who like to call themselves pastor are not true pastors anyway. If any were being paid based on performance, using Ephesians 4 as the guide for their job description, they would all be fired.
We welcome all of your comments, even the ones we don't agree with, okay? And by all means, if you couldn't get through today, I apologize. We didn't get to all the calls. Please leave us a message there. On the next Insight, it'll be open line. So you pick the topic. We can talk about private health care. Ralph Klein's bringing that up again, of course. And tsunami relief efforts. What do you think? Is our Prime Minister doing a good job on that? You pick the topic. We'll see you tomorrow.